Madam Chair, members of the Commission, we're still waiting for Mr. Tafoya. Hopefully he's fashionably late. My recommendation is to go on to the next presentation, and we hope he will be here shortly. I did speak to Mr. Tafoya the other day, and he said he would be here. But my recommendation, we have individuals from Superior Ambulance, and we also have Mr. Ted Benavides on the line. So my recommendation is to go with the next presentation.
Okay, we will move forward. Presentation, EMS Service in Pecos, New Mexico, presenter Mayor Ted Benavides, Gabe Estrada, Empresa Chileta of Superior Ambulance.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, at this time I would like to introduce Mr. Gabe Estrada and Chris Archuleta, correct? Sir, no, I'm sorry, I apologize.
And this is Scott Wilson, who's our quality assurance.
And Scott Wilson. At this time, I would like them to approach the podium and give some information on what services they provide for San Miguel County and also for the village of Pecos. Thank you, gentlemen.
Council, Mayor, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was asked to be here to be part of a represent Superior Ambulance because Pecos Mayor has requested and the county has requested us to be here present. We really don't know why we're here, other than I'm more than welcome to let you know what we do and how we perform services out in the town of Pecos. We have one ambulance that's paramedic level, always in service over there and available for that side of the county. And then we have 3 ALS units here in the city of or in the city of Las Vegas, and that's what we do. We service the whole county. We respond to the county, the cities, all the surrounding areas. We even get to the point where we're always being pushed. PRC has asked us to respond into Mora and Wagon Mount and those areas. And of course, if we have resources, we try to assist them as best we can. So as far as anything to report on that's what we have available to help with the community. A lot of times, Alta Vista will ask us to, because of weather or because they don't have other options for patients to be transported, we'll transfer patients out of Alta Vista to St. Bees and to Albuquerque. All levels of care are available for them. So we do offer that services all the time. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Now with the pandemic, you see some increase in services needing to be reached out there in Pecos and rural areas?
We've actually had quite a few cases and potential cases, and again, we have to go based on protocol. We're always transporting patients, assuming that they are positive. We do have supplies by Health County. They always help supply us with some of the protective services because the need is there. I mean, our crews are exposed to numerous other things other than the COVID, and we do whatever we can to keep them safe also, and keep the patient safe so that we don't spread any of the stuff that goes on out there.
Madam Chair, I do have some questions, but I was hoping that we could get the mayor on. That's the next one. Leo, do you want to know the mayor's the next one on this list?
He's supposed to be dialing in as
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sedman, Mr. Wilson. Wilson, is that correct? Thank you for coming. I'm Janice Varela, and I'm the commissioner from the Pecos and District 2 area.
Oh, wonderful.
And yes, and I understood, I've been hearing from constituents since I started my position 4 years ago, that there was a need for a new ambulance in Pecos, particularly a 4-wheel drive to access people that are visiting, our residents and visitors in the mountains. So I requested some funds last year. We got partially funded from the legislature. So I was hoping to get some clarity because I've asked and I haven't been given a clear answer as to if the provider, who is Superior, if you own one or two machines and if the county owns one, so I'm wanting to get an understanding of who owns what machine, what the conditions are, and also following up on the question that our chair, Commissioner Martinez, asked about the responding with COVID. I live in Pecos, and I've seen not hundreds but thousands of people coming into our canyon every, not just weekends, it's just continuous. So I imagine with the extra traffic and the extra stream of visitors coming into our town, that we've had an increase in calls. Is that accurate on your end?
Actually, summertime is always our busiest time, and we haven't been taxed in the area too much, too often. We've been able to handle the majority of the calls, but sometimes we do get those times where the system goes into overload, and we will be challenged with crews going back and forth in mid, and the county from Santa Fe has come to assist us. And then if it's more north, we do have our biggest crew that will respond on the northern part of I-25 corridor to Highway 3 and down south and north of that highway division, because it's kind of like the halfway point, but we will respond when needed. And to answer your question about the new unit, we do have 2 units in Pecos that are Med 1 and Med 2, but there's only enough personnel to staff 1 truck. So one of them is always a spare unit. And one of the units is, I think, owned by the city or the town of Pecos, and then one is owned by the county. And both units are, are older units. One of them is actually pretty old. We try to maintain and maintain all the trucks and keep them in operation all the time. But they are getting to the point now where the mileage is starting to build, and we do probably, at least Med 2 definitely needs to probably be taken out of service, because we've been running out of, those trucks that are in need of future parts. Because I guess apparently Ford I was just told by the mechanic, a lot of the parts that are in these 2 units are now going to be obsolete through Ford. We can't find them. So we're hoping that, we can still maintain them for a certain period of time, but I was told that a lot of simple little parts are not going to be available. So, yeah, I was told that we were looking at getting a new unit for that area, and then the county had submitted some paperwork for a lease for that. And the lease, I'll let Leroy talk to you about that, but basically it wasn't in our best interest to have a lease for that amount of money to be charged to Superior.
What is the current term of the lease right now?
Well, we don't have a lease signed. Chris Archuleta had pretty much decided that it was not to his best interest to sign the lease. It was I think it was going to be, $2,000 a month to lease the unit from the county, and we don't generate enough income for that area. Actually, Pecos is not even in the green. We're always running in the red to keep that operation going at all times. So we're a private business. We try to maintain services, and we've always left Pecos with ALS level care. We have never left that area without any coverage, unless there's a breakdown or a unit that is an overload. We always are there. We always keep it manned, and we always keep it staffed with the highest level of care.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. And then your other question with the COVID, again, we do have that constant problem everywhere. It's not just in Pecos, but we do have it. Crews are always calling and saying, hey, can we do a check on this patient because we think this patient may be COVID. And then, of course, we have to wait for results from the hospitals to let our crews know. But in the positive note, they're always treating every patient like it's a COVID. Now, if we do have a true positive, and we've had that where the patients come out and said, look, my wife or my spouse or my family member is positive right now, and they're having a difficult time medically wise, then we will take care of them and treat them the best care that we can and cover ourselves and them to make sure that we don't spread the disease, and we do everything diligent to make sure we maintain that level of care. Because it is a challenge when you're dealing with those type of patients. Normally, if you have a severe respiratory patient, there's some things that the state has mandated that we treat patients, certainly when they're positive, and so that we can limit exposure to everybody. I don't know if Scott wants to talk about that more or less. He's our quality assurance, but we both are medics between the both of us. I think we have like 50 years experience, and this disease has definitely got a handle on us. I mean, we are in harm's way all the time, and how to treat patients are totally different with the COVID than normally if we have a person that has respiratory problems or cardiac problems, because these patients have to be treated totally different.
Mr. Martinez, I believe Mayor Benavides is on the line now. If you want to ask him to chime in.
Mayor Benavides, I believe that this Commissioner Varela has some questions that she would like to ask you. Will join us now with your presentation.
Listening to some music, I sound like.
Is he on here?
He must be having a hard time with his video, audio, phone or something like that. Because I know when I get on Zoom, you have to hit a.
You want to hear him call?
He might have it on mute, or he can't hear.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
He must have heard me.
Thank you for joining us.
Madam Chairman, County Commissioners, I'd like to apologize first of all for not being able to make it in person after I was put on the agenda. I apologize for that. I just have a couple of questions. If you guys get a new contract, can we be included in the RFP? A new contract is signed. What's going to happen to the ambulance if Superior doesn't sign with you guys? Because we had just signed a contract with him.
Has he asked me that question?
Yes,
So you're saying that we have a separate RFP for the town of Pecos versus the county?
Yes, yes, because you guys aren't signed with Superior and we are. What would happen to the ambulance in that situation?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I think maybe what he was asking is the possibility of Pecos being added onto the contract with the county, as opposed to holding its own contract with the department.
I'm not sure, excuse me, I'm not sure. I think that the mayor, you answered the question, the county owns one ambulance and the village owns one ambulance. So
Yes.
the ambulance that the village owns, is that a contract that you're dealing with them separately? And then the contract with the county for the machine that the county owns, that's a separate, and so there's contracts for the machine and contract for services, and there seems to be some confusion.
Maybe I can help out with that just a little bit. When Spirit took over the services for emergency medicine and medical care for Pecos, in the contract that we had, the vehicles were actually, they were transferred over. The ownership of the vehicles didn't come to Spirit anymore. The village owns one, the county owns the other one. So they maintained ownership into it. We were able to actually take over those vehicles and utilize them for response to the 911 call coming in. However, the trade-off was that we maintained those vehicles. We took them in, if there were oil changes, if there were repairs to be done to them, something like that. Superior Ambulance took the cost of those and they maintained those vehicles for usage. And kind of what Gabe was saying, kind of tag on to what he was saying, is both of those vehicles are starting to age at this point. One of them, Med 2, I believe it is the one that's really aged. It's got some high miles out to it, it's got some significant usage to it. And a lot of that has to do with just not only just driving on the highways and stuff like that, but a lot of the roads in the Pecos area are dirt roads, washboard roads or chuckles and stuff like that, which adds to the age of those vehicles. And so the trade-off was is that we got to utilize those vehicles in exchange for maintaining the vehicles. So now there's a new vehicle that apparently has been purchased by the county. And the county, what we received not too long ago was a lease agreement. Now the PRC, what they've done is they've asked us, PRC, for anybody who's not aware, the PRC actually is the agency that governs agencies, EMS agencies, and now the fire and EMS agencies that have transport capability when we receive reimbursement for the services that we provide. And what happened is the county purchased, my understanding is that they purchased a new vehicle. And with that vehicle, the PRC is now requiring that to be in compliance with PRC regulation, is we have to have some sort of a lease agreement with the entity that we're actually utilizing their vehicles, utilizing their stations, anything that is a county or a city entity that owns that vehicle or building or land or whatever it is. The PRC wants us to have a lease agreement for that, whether it's a $1 lease agreement or 2 years or whatever the case is. Or in the case of the new vehicle, the David mentioned that they wanted us to sign a contract, a lease contract with them, paying $2,000 a month for the use of that vehicle. And so that's where we do not have that vehicle in our possession at this particular point. But the lease agreement came over and requested that we make a rent payment of $2,000 per month for the use of that vehicle. So I hope that maybe clarifies it a little bit.
So is Unit 1, does that belong to the village and Unit 2 the county or vice versa, or are they defined?
I'm thinking that Med 1 is owned by the town of Pecos, and Med 2 may be, but I'll have to clarify that. Med 2 might be a county unit. It's the older model.
Commissioner Miguel?
So,
Fact, Med 1 does belong to the village, and Med 2 belongs to the county.
Is in service, it can respond to calls in the town of Pecos or outside the town of Pecos in the county.
Yes.
So essentially, we're sharing those units, the town of Pecos and the county of San Miguel.
Yes. So whichever unit, and they prefer the Med 1 because it's the newer unit, and they use that as much as they can, and then the spare is pretty much Med 2, the older unit, and that's what they do. They respond county and the town of Pecos.
Okay. So the county provides a brand new ambulance, which you guys would naturally go to first if we can work out the lease and everything. That is going to also be used for the town of Pecos.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Garcia?
So let's say for example, you're doing service for the county just like you are now. But let's say that the village of Pecos doesn't have an ambulance and San Miguel doesn't have an ambulance. What are your options as far as providing the service?
You mean as far as if we didn't have one available, or just not having a service?
No, I'm saying tomorrow the village of Pecos decides that they're going to retire the ambulance. San Miguel County decides that we're going to retire the ambulance and not exercise the option of the new ambulance in Pecos. What would be your option then? What would be your alternative? Are you going to look at an addendum to the agreement with the county and with the village? Are you looking at bringing in an ambulance from somewhere else to continue the service, or what would be your option?
I would have to talk to the ownership of Superior Ambulance and find out what the option would be if we had to purchase the unit ourselves or get a unit for Superior Ambulance to run in that area.
So would that mean probably an increase in cost for services, right?
Yeah, it would. You'd have to. The RFP would have to come out. I'm sure that would be included into that.
Or an addendum to
An addendum.
contract that's in place.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Miguel?
Gentlemen, so for the city of Las Vegas and the outlying area of Las Vegas, are those med units, are they owned by Superior, or are they?
Those are owned by Superior Ambulance.
So what is happening with the new ambulance now?
Can you repeat that? Mayor Benavides?
Where's the new ambulance or where would it land up? Has a decision been made as to where the new ambulance is gonna land up or where?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, just for historical record, we currently have a contract with Superior Ambulance. And in that contract, it indicates that they will operate a county ambulance and are also housed in a county facility in Pecos. Right now, we are in a joint RFP with the city of Las Vegas. We did reach out to the village of Pecos. The mayor decided to opt out of the RFP. So right now, we are in partnership with the city of Las Vegas. We already have issued the RFP, and on September 16th, providers will submit bids. Now, once the providers submit bids, San Miguel County will use the new ambulance and our facility in Pecos as part of the negotiation. We currently pay approximately $150,000 to Superior Ambulance to provide for San Miguel County. But once we go through the RFP process and whoever gets the bid, in that contract, we will have the new ambulance in that contract for Pecos and also the facility. So September 16th is when when companies will get to submit their seal bids, and then we'll go through that process. But I just want the commission to know that that new ambulance and our facility in Pecos will be part of that contract. So whoever gets that contract, we will have our new ambulance and the old ambulance to serve the village, to serve that area. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question to our county manager. So it's not gonna be a bid, it's gonna be a proposal, right? There's a difference between a bid and a proposal.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, my understanding is an RFP, and I don't chief this here.
So it's a proposal then? It's a proposal-based advertisement.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, yes, correct.
All right, so if it's a proposal, it's based on qualifications first, before it's based on price. That's why there's a difference between proposals and bids. So I had the liberty of requesting, when all this communication back and forth on the issue of the ambulance was going on, I had the liberty of requesting the request for proposals from the state, and I have it right here in front of me. You're right, the village of Pecos is not included in here. So that would have to be maybe dealt with before the proposals are open. Because once the proposals are open, then, you know, if you're adding services to other entities, then I think that defaults the proposal. And then secondly, I don't see where the ambulance is mentioned in this proposal. The ambulance that Commissioner Varela has pushed for the village, for the area of Pecos, not the village of Pecos, for the area, for her district. And I've given my word to Commissioner Varela that she has my full support on this, because, you know, she came to us almost 2 years ago asking for our assistance on this. And here we are almost 2 years later, just now dealing with the issue. And it's a little bothersome to me as well. You know, so I'm concerned how, and I want you to answer this, Mr. Manager. How can we assure Commissioner Varela's district, Commissioner Martinez's district, because her district is going to benefit from it also. How can we assure those two districts, with the request for proposals that the city has, and I've looked at it, that that ambulance is going to be incorporated into the RFP before the 16th, when the proposals are scheduled to be open. And then also, I noticed in the proposal, the city of Las Vegas says that they will be housed in Las Vegas. And it does mention San Miguel County, but the taxing will be based on city of Las Vegas taxing. It doesn't mention nothing about San Miguel County taxing. You know, so it's, in my opinion, and I've dealt with RFPs before, and I'm not an expert by no means, but based on my experience, there's some shady stuff in here that do not give Commissioner Varela a clear answer. And so I can see her point, wanting clear answers for this because, you know, she has been committed by Senator Stefanik to, first of all, fund us $60,000 or $70,000, which, by the way, I have a lot of respect for Senator Stefanik. You know, she's been very helpful to us. And so, you know, for us to be using, you're right, you know, you talked about going to the PRC, you talked about going to the Board of Ethics, all that stuff. You know, but has our attorney been involved in this whole process? Because our attorney reviews for Code of Ethics, reviews for PRC stuff, reviews for DFA. That's his expertise. That's not my expertise. That's not your expertise. Maybe it is your expertise, but it's definitely not my expertise. So how can we be assured through our attorney that this proposal is in fact in the best interest of San Miguel County?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, once we go through the RFP process and we negotiate a contract, in that contract we will state that the new ambulance, the old ambulance, and our facility in Pecos will be utilized within that contract, similar to our existing contract that we have.
And how can that be done without the language of the ambulance being in the RFP?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I know that our attorney did review it and also the city attorney did review the RFP. But we're following the same process as before. Once we go through the RFP and we issue a contract, that language will be in there just like the current contract, where we will have those ambulances in Pecos and they will be using our facility in Pecos. Commissioner Garcia, I hope that answered your question. You used the word shady, so I hope Dave Romero would have a few comments on that. I know the city attorney also looked at it, and go ahead, Dave Romero, if you have any questions.
Mayor, governing body, I do have serious concerns about the proposed contract and RFP. My first concern is to the ambulance service. The Pecos area is specifically excluded from this agreement. How do you propose to serve Pecos if it's not without another agreement, and why exactly did you leave Pecos out?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Fire Chief Andrew did meet with the Village of Pecos, and the mayor decided not to be included in the RFP. Now, keep in mind, once we go through this process, we will submit the proposal to the commission for approval. If the commission feels that it is not appropriate, then we can look at other avenues.
Madam Chair and County Commissioners.
I'm concerned about the structure of the proposal because it looks like it was written by the city for the city. And I'm concerned in protecting Pecos because even though we're talking about Pecos being protected later or added in, on these requests for proposals, and I've done the proposals with the city of Las Vegas and the different ambulance services, and I was the general counsel for the Corporation Commission and the Public Regulatory Commission for 2+ years. And I don't like to leave language for addition later when we can see it now, because the applicants, whoever they're going to be, need to know exactly what the obligations are for them as an ambulance service. And normally, and when we talk about Pecos, we're talking about a gigantic area. Where is the border of service going to be for the Pecos area? It's all up the way up the canyon. Is it going to be stop at Tecolote? Is it going to go to Conchas Dam? The wear and tear, and how much is each party paying? How much is the city going to pay for this service? How much is the county going to pay for this service? These joint agreements between the city and the county have not worked in the past because there was a fundamental difference as to how much each side is going to pay. And I'm also concerned about spelling out by the ambulance service exactly what happens when you have multiple calls at the same time. Who gets priority in the use of the medical services, the ambulance services? And from a return on investment standpoint, I'm always concerned with the ambulance service being able to cherry pick in the Las Vegas area because we have so much of the population here. Most of the runs are going to be here, and therefore the cost to them is going to be much less. Anytime they leave the Las Vegas area and go into San Miguel County, it's going to cost them more because it's further distance, because it's spread out. But I want to make sure that we know how that is going to be spread out. I think I should have been involved from the beginning with the meetings in Pecos, or the meetings with the fire marshal, and the meetings of the ambulance service, because there's a lot of ambiguity that needs to be taken care of now. And for example, the tax issue. If you look at some of these proposals, you'll see that City of Las Vegas is benefiting from the gross receipts tax and not the county, or at least it's not made clear. And so that's why I requested for full participation in an agenda request in handling the ambulance service contract and making those type of negotiation decisions because of my previous experience and history. And what is a very technical area in determining what return of investment should the ambulance service receive, and what quality of medical service will each one of these ambulances provide whenever they respond to any issue.
Madam Chair, County Commissioners, the Village of Pecos has always wanted to be involved with the RFP. The village did not, I do want to be involved in it. Yeah, I never said that I didn't want to be involved in the RFP.
So that was actually going to be my question. What was the reason that Pecos opted out of the RFP?
We never did.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Trujillo, I did speak to the mayor, and I did speak to his staff. I believe her name is Kathy. I did advise them that we were going to do a joint RFP with the City of Las Vegas and ask them if they would like to participate in that RFP. They advised me that they had signed a one-year contract with Superior Ambulance that started July 1st, and that they could not do anything till the end of their contract, which would be June of 2021.
Are there some, I have a question, Madam Chair, Mr. Duran, and Mayor Benavides. So I don't know, there's a lot of communication that isn't very clear here, and I think needs to be straightened out. So I'm glad this item is on this agenda. And I don't know that we're going to straighten everything out now. We might need to turn this over to our attorney and to have him work with the mayor and the City of Las Vegas, the mayor of Pecos, and they're both attorneys to get all this straightened out. But my question is, if the village signed the contract on July 1st because they had to move forward so they could have coverage for service, because they can't be waiting on us for the RFP and whatever, is what I imagined why they moved forward this. I can't speak for the mayor and for Kathy, the treasurer, but I imagine that they would have to move forward with their contract to provide service until everything plays out with the RFP. So I wouldn't just accept that, okay, now that's done, we have to wait till next year. I imagine that there are things that can be done. Is that correct, Mr. Counsel?
Yes, even though we, Madam Chair, Commissioners, on any contract, it can always be modified when the circumstances change or require. And if you're asking, why can't we modify any contract that the ambulance service has or Pecos has to fit our bigger situation with the county, city, and Pecos? And I say, generally you can. A contract just provides stability for a year, but if there are good reasons to change it and modify it, then it should be changed and modified when all the parties agree. At the very least, it needs to be talked about. But it goes back to the point that I was concerned about, why was Pecos specifically excluded, and now I hear the mayor say that they didn't ask to be specifically excluded. And so it concerns me.
with the village clerk of the village of Pecos. That is correct. The only reason that we did,
That are involved need to get together and they need to resolve.
we had to sign it by July. Have coverage.
Pecos cannot be without an ambulance service, and the rural areas cannot be without ambulance service. I mean, I think that this needs to be talked about like today, or as soon as possible, and then we need to resolve it.
Madam Chair.
I agree.
The request for proposals that the city and the county have jointly scheduled to be open on the 16th. The only way possible for this to be modified would be to issue an addendum to the RFP. That addendum will have to be issued immediately. And whoever the respondents are so far that are on the mailing list or the emailing list for this proposal, whoever they are, would have to be notified and they would have to acknowledge receiving the addendum. So the city of Las Vegas will first of all have to be in agreement with doing that because they are the administrator of the proposal. And Councilor Romero, feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong. But in order for us to get this RFP on the way that Commissioner Varela has been asking us to do it and the way that we all agreed to help her do it, this RFP, in my opinion, is not the way. I'm sorry, I don't want to be disappointing to anyone, and I don't want to waste any more time either. I don't want to have to reject the proposals and then have to re-advertise because they're looking at another 90 days. In the meantime, we've had an ambulance sitting here since
December.
Since December, 7-8 months ago. That's not being put to use at all. I had an accident on I-25 in April. I personally had an accident. And the ambulance from Glorieta responded to my accident. Superior ambulance wasn't there for whatever reason. I'm not saying that they should have been there, but I personally experienced that another ambulance had to respond. And I feel for Superior ambulance. Here we are with a brand new ambulance sitting inside a garage somewhere that's not being put to use. We could have a life in danger, and just because that life is in danger, and our ambulance is sitting in a garage somewhere because of our lack of responsibility, and I'm going to say it clearly, the San Miguel County's lack of responsibility to follow through the way that we're supposed to be following through, we could lose a life for that lack of responsibility that we have. And I'm taking responsibility for it as a commissioner. Whoever else wants to take responsibility, it's up to you. But I'm one of 5 commissioners, and I feel fully responsible for the lack of whatever it is that we haven't done with this ambulance. And it's time that we start taking our job serious. And, it doesn't make sense for an ambulance to be sitting for 8-9 months without use.
Any other questions, discussion?
I would like to thank Commissioner Garcia, and I'd like to thank the providers of Superior Ambulance for coming today and explaining and answering questions that I've had for a very long time. I appreciate your service to our community and the lives that you save. And I'm here, the sirens go up and down the street all day long, all weekend especially, and you guys are my thoughts, and I care about your safety of the responders too, so thank you so much. And I don't know if we could, since this was a presentation, if we could take action on it now, but I would like to see our attorney work with the city of Las Vegas and the village of Pecos and our staff here with Chief Duran and our manager to move forward on this and not delay anymore, and whatever it has to be done, do it to make this legit, follow the process, and get this ambulance in service. That's what I want.
I will do whatever the commissioners wish.
So I think, I know that I feel the same way. I think that we need to move forward with this. We need to get the city, the county, everybody that's involved, that needs to be involved to get this resolved instead of waiting any longer. I think it's been too long. So whatever we need to do to get this resolved, we need to do it as soon as possible.
Right.
Anybody else? Any commentary?
I agree.
padre que dice, medical program.
And I'd like to say thank you for coming and presenting today to the gentleman as well. Okay, so we'll move on to regular order, item number 1.
We have Alex here. Sorry.
Oh. yeah,
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Tafoya is now here.
Okay, so we'll move on to we'll continue with new business, recognition of Alex Tafoya for his years of service to San Miguel County, presenters are Juan Lopez, Melinda Gonzalez, and Eileen Cedillo.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commission, Dr. Martinez. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak on Alex's behalf. I didn't think we'd see the day that he'd retire. I thought he was like part of the structure here or part of the building. For some reason, I didn't expect he'd ever leave. But I guess the day has come. But I would like to start off with thanking you for your unconditional support and your friendship as well. You know, Alex supported Public Works in many ways with acquiring grants and appropriations. He administered them with amazing dedication and professionalism. The knowledge and the expertise that you demonstrated was superior. You're always willing to help with great attitude, with happiness, you know, with great humor. Many times I'd come to his office and Alex would greet you with just his humor was great to deal with. No, whatever it was, he always approached it with that great attitude. But congratulations, Alex, and thank you again. And I wish you the best in your retirement. May God bless you with good health and happiness. And thank you for all you did for us.
Well, what do you say about a person who has been here so long? Do you know that Alex was here when the original courthouse was still standing? And I'm just joking. But he did work where the original courthouse stood in a portable trailer for many, many years. I'm not sure if any of you remember that layout. And Alex has been here so long that I'm sure he has tons of stories beyond imagination, some good and some bad, about how much the county has changed and how little it's changed at the same time. And I still remember the first day when I started working at the county. Alex came into my office with loads and loads of files to go over every project that he was involved with. He was so serious, but at least for that meeting. Because not too long after, I picked up on his sense of humor when he came into my office and he told me that I had a loose screw. And then over a duration of a little story, he was talking about a screw on my license plate. He was one of the first ones to come into the building and one of the last ones to leave every single day. He never took advantage of situations such as time, and I can let you know that he probably has lost hundreds, if not over 1,000 worth of hours of sick leave. He was very dedicated. And I know I'm not speaking for myself, for I've heard many people speak highly of Alex. Whether you realize it or not, Alex, people recognized you for being instrumental in so many things, by being a pillar of the county, by your example of professionalism, a historian of fact, an animal lover for our dear little Benji, a comic with a wry sense of humor, and just being a good citizen. There are many stories that we could all tell and give examples of all of this. You're such a great asset to the county, and your absence will be noticed. You will be missed for all you do, all that you are, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. I'm sure you have tons of honeydews and grandpa dews, but don't forget that we're here if you ever want to come and visit. Thank you, Alex.
May I say something? Alex Tafoya, you know that in his past lives, he used to be an attorney. And I benefited from that because whenever there was research to be done, he was organized. Take the Blamer Ranch, for example. He had every piece of paper going back before the century. that made the file. And we flooded Blamer Ranch with all this paperwork and documentation that they didn't think that we would have, but we had it because of Alex's organization and his staff's organization. The other aspect of this, Alex was instrumental in doing research on a negotiation we had with the city of Las Vegas as to who's responsible for Upper 8th Street. City of Las Vegas says, no, that's not our responsibility to fix it up. And so we met with them. And Alex had found documentation that when a city annexes an area, that it's not just the outside boundaries of it, but it's everything, because the city was trying to work their way out of being responsible for the roads up there on Upper 8th Street. But it was his legal research, and I give him thanks for that, that gave the county the upper hand. The idea with Alex that I liked is that he was very precise, and he always did the work, and he was always prepared. And I loved his sense of humor. Did you know that when he was in high school, he was named most humorous in his high school West Las Vegas class? I fibbed. That's not true, but I wanted to say something about his sense of humor, because we always had to listen twice to Alex whenever he talked, to see if he was jabbing you or whether he was serious. And that's what made him such a pleasure. I know the manager and all of us are really going to miss you. We need you. So many, with your experience of working, we worked together at the city, we worked together all over the years, and you can't help but have a Encyclopedia Britannica right there named Alex for the questions of how he saw the problem and how it was handled and whether or not it worked or didn't work. And that's what you need. That's what we all need in just trying to deal with the day-to-day issues that come up and how are we going to fix them. And Alex's job is tough because as the head of P&Z, you have people from all over the county with all types of knowledge coming in, trying to sometimes come in a good mood, sometimes they come in a bad mood. And he's just one of those stable guys that no matter how bad the mood is by somebody walking in, he handles it. He's like oil on water. He makes them leave feeling like they were listened to and that they made progress on it. Anyway, not only as a professional, I just wanted to say, I really like you, man. You're a good person.
Okay, so I've known Alex for many years, and I don't know why they didn't let Marie sit next to you. I'm not even going to say how many years I've known Alex. He's been a good to me for a really long time, and I've only been at the county a short 4 years. But in that time, he was an amazing colleague, and he was my go-to guy for resolutions, for guidance on policy issues. And when I'd give him something to proof for me, he'd usually say, well, I would have worded that differently. I guess it's a different writing style. In other words, it was bad. Redo it, Eileen. I could always count on Alex for his historical knowledge on why things were done a certain way. You know, those things are definitely hard to replace. Alex is known for his wisdom, his knowledge, his integrity, his loyalty, his work ethic, and his green thumb. These two plants right here loved Alex. So the plants will miss him, and we already miss him. And with that said, I'm a crybaby. So Alex, if you'll come up so I can present you with this really heavy plaque.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to say a few words about Alex. You know that I started working at the city of Las Vegas in 1984. And there was a gentleman that sat on the city council by the name of Alex Tafoya. He was one of the elected city councilors there. So I didn't get to know him that well then because he was way up on top of the scale compared to where I was at. But throughout the years, Alex came to work at the city of Las Vegas. He was the water director, he was the utilities director. Shortly after that, I came to work at the county, and then Alex came to work at the county. So I've known Alex in a bunch of different areas. But one good experience that I will share with Alex, and it's just San Miguel County, is that the building that we're sitting in, the district attorney's building, the district courthouse, the public works building, many CDBG projects, many. I mean, Alex and I probably dealt with 6 CDBG projects during the time that I was here. And they were all very technical projects. You know, we talk about people that are very successful. We talk about managers, we talk about mayors, we talk about elected officials that are very successful. But I haven't seen anyone as successful as Alex Tafoya. This guy has probably the strongest record for grants and for financing that San Miguel County has had. Melinda could probably attest to that because Melinda and I worked together on that. Alex touched every bit of project that we were involved in. If it was a grant, it was Alex's hands. If it was a capital outlay request, it was on Alex's hands. You know, I played a big role in that, but the main role came from Alex. And I want to let you know, Alex, that I have a lot of respect for you, and you know, you've been a mentor of mine, and I learned a lot from you. I wish that I would have learned to have your demeanor because my demeanor and yours is completely opposite. But I have the utmost respect for you, Alex. Thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if I can say a few words before, thank you. I've known people forget though that Alex at one time was a city councilman. Were you not, Alex? That's when you had a lot more hair. But you've served the city of Las Vegas, the county of San Miguel. You've been honorable, honest, and a hard worker. And I joke with Alex, joke with him, call him to Alex to make a short story long, Tafoya. But you're very thorough, very honest, very professional, and I thank you for having served the city and the county. Enjoy your retirement, Alex. You deserve it.
Commissioner Trujillo.
You know, I've had the pleasure of working with Alex on several fronts as a citizen, as a resident of San Miguel County, as a realtor wanting to do lot line adjustments for some of my clients and things like that. And it just amazes me that now understanding more of what his work was with the county, that he actually gets all of these things done in the time that he says he'll have it done. There's a lot of people and places that you go to and they give you dates and times that it never happens. And for Alex, every time I've asked him, you know, for his help or for assistance with one of my clients or whatever, it always happens on that date or before that date. And the pace that Alex works at, you're probably done with all your honeydews by now, Alex. I think it's time to come back to work. But no, I just wanted to thank you from all the aspects that I've ever worked with you. You've always been solid and truthful and honorable about the way you conduct business. And I just want to thank you for your years of San Miguel County.
So if I could give this to Madam Chair so she can present it. Sorry.
That's nice. Pretty.
Heavy. Madam Chair, could I add a couple words? I won't take long. I just want to thank you to Alex. I was on Planning and Zoning Commission for 8 years before being a county commissioner, so Alex and I also go back a few years, not as far back as some of you, but Alex has always been very helpful, knowledgeable, and kind and genuine, and I truly appreciate you and thank you, and I'll miss you, and I just love how you've been, your demeanor, as was been said before, and the mystery of the little dog and the person that was taking care of it, and it was Alex. That was just so awesome. I love that story. And I really enjoyed working with you. And And I wish you the best, and take me with you. I want to retire. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you.
If I could say a couple of things before you proceed. I brought Marie Rubio with me. We have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. We met, I think, in 1971, and we've been practicing social distancing since then. And it's all very simple, you know, what I did. I came to work every day. I did my best to carry out the tasks that I was assigned to do, and I think some of them I did very well, and probably some of them not so well. And I think the most important, and we had many discussions in the morning at home, was I truly appreciated having the fortunate opportunity to work for San Miguel County as a public servant to the residents that we serve. And that's what we're all here for. And we used to talk about that at home many, many times, how fortunate I was to be able to come and work here. There were a lot of good people. Harold, I worked with Harold since, gosh, 35 years at least. And you know, we did a lot of things, Melinda, you know, and people that are here now and people that are no longer here. And I think we did some good things. And I say we because it takes a team effort. We don't do these things by ourselves. So I really appreciated working for San Miguel County. It was a very difficult decision for me to decide to retire. It probably took a year, maybe even longer, to actually make that decision. And I think things are going to go well for the county. It's a good organization. I used to hear employees talk all the time about the good things and the bad things, but the good things about this county really outweigh any bad thing that anybody can come up with. And I will say one thing about being a public servant. When you're a public servant, it's not about keeping everybody happy. It's about doing everything that is the right thing to do, following the rules and the regulations and treating everybody fairly. And I learned through the years that I was here that there's a lot of people out there that don't like the rules and regulations, and they always think that they're being treated unfairly. But that's not the case. From what I've seen with this county, I think this county treats everybody fair. They try and do the right thing. The ambulance service, you guys are trying to do the right thing. And I hope that people appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to say to Mr. Tafoya, thank you. It's evident that you know, you impacted many lives, not only of people that work for San Miguel County, but in the community. I'd like to say thank you for your hard work and everything you've done for the county, and enjoy your retirement and continue practicing the social distancing. So this retirement plaque is presented to Alex Tafoya in recognition of his retirement. July 31st, 2020, San Miguel County Planning and Zoning Supervisor from October 10th, 2000 to July 31st, 2020. Presented today by the Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County.
Thank you, Marie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thank you, Marie. So we'll move on to regular order. Item number 1, resolution number 2020-09-08, a resolution amending the 2019 polling place resolution 2019-06-11. Presenter Geraldine Gutierrez, San Miguel County Clerk.
Be the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Romero, Dr. Martinez, Ms. Gonzalez. Today I come before you for the approval of this resolution number 2020-09-08. And this resolution is amending the 2019 polling place resolution. And the reason I'm amending the resolution is for safety reasons, first of all. So I'm consolidating all the rural precincts to be male precincts. And that's going to consist of 10 rural precincts. The VCCs, or the voting convenience centers, will remain the same, and anybody that chooses not to get a mail ballot or vote by mail can certainly vote either by early voting or election day, whatever they prefer. So they'll still have that choice. And 10 of the rural precincts is going to consist of precinct number 9, which is Rociada, precinct number 10, Sapeo, and that will be 13A, which is Bernal, 13B is going to be Tecolote, and 14A is going to be Trujillo Schoolhouse, 14B will be Trementina, 15 will be Conchas, 16 will be the Sheridan Fire Station, and it'll be 17, and that'll be Tecolotito, and 21. So that's going to be 10 rural precincts that will be all male precincts. But these people that vote in this rural precincts will have the option, like I said, to vote in person, either in my office starting October the 6th, at the county clerk's office by early voting, and they'll have that option. We'll be doing that from October the 6th through October the 31st. An alternate voting site will open on October the 17th, which will be in the Rivera Cultural Center. So they will still have that option.
So, a question. So the people from Romeroville and Sheridan will have to travel, and Tecolote will have to travel to the Rivera to vote?
To Rivera, or to come and vote to the early voting site here in my office, at the county clerk's office, or they can vote at the NEVCC election day. It's going to be the Valley Junior High, it will be the West Las Vegas gym, it'll be the Mike Marr gym in the East Las Vegas, or it'll be the Pecos gym. And let's say that I vote in, let's say, Bernal. I can go to either of those VCCs election day. Or if they don't want, if they want to vote, they can come into the county clerk's office from October the 6th through October 31st. Or they can, starting October the 17th, I believe that's on a Saturday, that's going to be at the Rivera Cultural Center, and that will start from the 17th to the 31st also. And I am doing this for safety reasons. I believe the COVID is not going to get any better. We're going to be fighting not only the COVID, but influenza. So that's why I'm presenting this resolution to you, Commission.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Garcia.
motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And this will be also, once it's signed by you commissioners, it will have to be taken to the district court for approval. So once you sign this, I need to give it to Mr. Romero so he can present it to the district court for approval.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
I'd just
Varela.
like to thank Ms. Gutierrez for this information. And could you please put, are you gonna put this on the website?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I will put that
Because I won't
resolution.
remember now. Okay,
And
but
I
early
will put
voting will be here and then Rivera only, right?
The early.
The early
Yes,
voting.
the early. But they will, if they choose not to get, to vote by mail, they can vote either early or election day at those 4 BCCs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, we move on to item number 2, manager's report. Presenter Vidal Martinez, county manager.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, what I'm giving you is a breakdown of approximately 80 counties and municipalities that applied for CARES Act funding. If you look on the second page, we submitted our application, and what we did is we met with staff, with departments, and we calculated what we have spent on COVID and our projection on COVID. And like I said, there was over 80 municipalities and counties that applied. And according to the state, the request doubled the amount of what the state received from the federal government. So if you look at this handout, basically what occurred is they went through each municipality and each county and cut it in half. So for example, for San Miguel County, in our application we submitted for $490,000, 200, and we were awarded half of that, almost half of that, 214,463. So we did submit our letter to DFA, and hopefully soon we will get back. They will give us the information on what we could specifically spend the money on. So we're just waiting right now from DFA on the specific information. But again, I want to thank the staff and especially Leon Andrew for assisting with this.
So when you applied for this money, did it give you a breakdown as to what this money could be spent on?
Yes, they came up, there was a specific criteria, and we had to list what we spent so far on COVID and what we anticipate that we're going to spend on COVID. Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Manager, and spending on COVID, what do you mean, like, could you give us an example of what the expenditures might be?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, thank you for that question. For example, the commission did approve additional funding for the Samaritan House and additional funding for senior citizens. So that's one example. We also included the spending at the detention center, whatever we spend at the detention center, any computers and so forth.
What about, I know there's been some times where we had to shut down the building to do some kind of sanitizing. Is that expense, or is that not, would that be included too, or is that different?
That's a good question. I don't know, Mr. Maestas, if we include any cleaning expenses with the application. Did we include any of that?
No, ma'am. Those are all costs that we incur ourselves. Our cleaning staff and fogging machine was all, the fogging machine was actually supplied to us by Las Vegas City Schools. So there was no cost involved.
Thank you.
Question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Garcia?
So, am I right, or maybe I'm wrong, is this like a reimbursement for actual costs that we've had? And so if it's a reimbursement, why would they dictate to us how we would spend it? Shouldn't this just go back to the general fund? Or maybe I'm mistaken?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Garcia, that's a very good question. I would like Mr. Maestas to elaborate on that, and if Melinda has anything to add to it. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. A portion of that was for reimbursement on things that we had already expended, and we were asked to look at what we would be spending from now till December 31st. So we foresaw that we might be giving money to Samaritan House, we might need to buy more PPE, we might need to be buying equipment for the detention center. We did use our tent. The tent has been deployed at the hospital now for 5 months. It might incur some wear and tear, so we might have to buy another one. Those are things that we incorporated. Also, we communicated with the Village of Pecos schools, East and West, and asked them what they had spent during those times. They did get their own CARES money, Act money, but we minused out the time frame of when they received their money, so we could try to encompass that money with ours.
Madam Chair. See where the city was appointed, was awarded 2.4 million. Could that help the county with our expenses, for instance?
So what I believe that the city did in theirs is that they tried to encompass the city police's budget during that time period, along with the fire department's budget during that time period. I don't know if they're going to be able to be allowed to use it as a reimbursement, but that's what they encompassed in that.
Okay, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Right. They also put in for a small business grant. I don't know what the process will be at the moment, but small businesses in the city will be able to apply for those funds from the city of Las Vegas.
Good deal.
I don't know if you can hear me. At one point, we had to fill out some information for DFA on what our costs were, and at the point in time, our costs were $92,000. $35,000 of that came from the Molina Ranch, so we backed it out for about $55,000. So what we need to do is get back to the departments and figure out what the hard expenditures were, because now we're between $27,000 and $55,000. So I'll be working with Andrew and Leo to really try to solidify what these numbers are. So let's just say it's $60,000, then that leaves us with $140,000 to spend on new items going forward. And because this took place last fiscal year, we're reimbursing ourselves for last fiscal year, and these are federal pass-through dollars, it becomes part of our federal audit this year. So that's something that we have to actually move on very quickly, because the auditors have actually asked for information. But I'm saying anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000 is reimbursable, and the rest of it is going to be available for new expenditures.
So then that reimbursable should be something that you don't have to spend and justify. It could be money that could go back to the general fund so that the county can spend as we feel necessary.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Garcia, that'd be correct. So I just need to figure out how to do it, because we're passing fiscal years. So what we're going to do later on in the budget is budget it under one particular fund. And in order to show DFA that we spent everything, I'm probably going to re-record the expenditure, but then lessen the expenditure in the funds that took place. Even though we're passing fiscal years, it'll be a wash, but it's, so, yes, so like, some of that money will go back to the general fund. Some of it might go to the detention center, because there was some detention center overtime. But because the general fund supplements the detention center budget, at a later point of the mid-year budget, we can reduce the detention center's draw on the general funds first. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I just want to add what we would like to do, if it's possible, to use some of these funds to do remodeling, barrier protection in the treasurer's office and also in the clerk's office. So we're hoping that with some of these funds that would be available for both those departments. So hopefully, like Melinda said, once we hear from DFA, then we can move forward on that.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that. We move on to item number 3, recommendation to approve the job descriptions for Public Works, Solid Waste Accounts Receivable Position. Presenter, Ms. Eileen Cedillo, Human Resource Director.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. In your packet, you have a job description for a Accounts Receivable Clerk 1 position. This term appointment position is under the general direction of the Public Works Director. This individual is to provide communication to the public, solid waste customers, and the county administration. Assistant provides support to the department as requested by the supervisor, and responsible for maintaining computerized record systems and preparing billing for solid waste collection services associated within the accounts receivable department. Are there any questions on that job description?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner
So
Garcia.
it's a seasonal position?
So this is a term appointment position. This was the category that was approved in April of this year to add this term appointment position. And basically, these term appointment positions will serve a defined period of time. So we will, upon orientation, when we're hiring this employee also, as well as the advertisement, it is advertised as a term appointment position. We will let them know and have them sign a contract initially saying that it is a 1-year position. And the way we word the contract is basically, if funding becomes available, it will be extended, potentially an additional year. But we may be doing this from year to year based on the availability of funding for these positions. So this is similar to what we do with grant positions.
So this position and the other position, one that follows this, are both term positions, Mr. Manager, and I'm assuming that based on the paper that you gave us, that it's part of the issue with regards to trying to fix the solid waste issue that we have ongoing. What's the current status on the position that we have at IT, the girl that just left? That brings us to 3 positions for this issue, and I'm a bit concerned because I'm curious if there's been any progress over the last year and a half on this.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Garcia, I think there was a total of 3 questions. Your first question, these will be both 1-year term contracts, and you're absolutely correct. This is based on our consultant, Mr. Joe. I keep pronouncing his last name incorrectly. There you go. Thank you, sir. And so these will be 2 1-year term contracts to help us assist with fixing the problem we have with the solid waste department. I did meet with Diego Trujillo, and we plan to revise his position that Desiree was, the old position that Desiree was in. We're going to revise that position because we still need that position to provide all the backward support, the behind the scenes computer software support for this project. So I did meet with Joe, and he indicated that yes. But I want to make it clear that that position is also going to be to assist the assessor's office. We've been having some issues in the assessor's office, and also if there's any concerns in the clerk's office. So that'll be a position that would assist a variety of problems that we're having in the county.
But anyway, are these 2 positions, were they budgeted for when we submitted the most recent budget to DFA? I'm assuming they weren't.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we did have specific funding for these positions, but when Melinda gets back, I'll definitely have her elaborate on that question.
And then one more comment, Madam Chair. I'm going to show a concern that I have. You stated that there's issues at the assessor's office, so now all of a sudden someone from the IT office is going to be used to help the assessor's office. And what I'm seeing a pattern that we're having is that we're adding positions whenever we have a crisis in the county. We added 3 temporary positions at the detention center. We added, maybe not temporary, maybe I should reword it. Term positions. We added another term position at the IT office for solid waste. Now we're adding 2 other term positions. So just in my mind, there's already 6 term positions every time that there's a crisis in the county. I know that there's other departments. We, the commission, asked that an additional sheriff deputy be hired almost a year ago. That hasn't happened. I know that there's other elected officials that have requested positions for their offices, and that hasn't happened either. And the reason I know is because it's been brought to my attention by those elected officials. And so I'm a bit worried, because, I'm one of the ones that facilitated this issue or this request for solid waste to be fixed almost 2 years for the last 2 years, because if we do, then it means that we're being affected. But if we don't have an increase in revenues, then it's a non-effective process. And so it bothers me. I don't want our budget to come with term positions. I want us to be able to continue operating with the positions that we have already established. And all of a sudden, there's term positions. I don't know how many we have. Eileen, you could probably tell us.
You were correct. You said 6.
It bothers me, and because of that, I'm going to recommend that we table this. So we need to have a plan. There needs to be a plan in place. We do not have a plan in place.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Garcia, regarding additional revenue, we haven't really seen it yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen now or in the future. In fiscal year 1920, we ended up billing for one less quarter because of the way that the billing was going to be approached. So, of course, it was reduced by 1/4 of what normally would happen. And I haven't seen the billings that have gone out recently, so I'm not sure what the count increase has been. Because typically, I'm just going to assume, I'm going to really throw out numbers that I'm not 100% sure of. But I think there used to be at least maybe 4,200 to 4,600 people that were billed either on a quarterly basis and or the annual term of the account. So how many people have been added to the system past that 4,600? I'm not sure. Because that's where the revenue is going to come in. And that's where Mr. Lewandowski had mentioned that he believes that in having 2 positions budgeted for these positions, that they'll end up creating their own revenue because they're going to start cutting out the people who have been on the account. And that we should be able to realize additional revenues based on that. But exactly how much, I'm not sure. Exactly how long, that would take, I'm not sure. And I'm also not sure of, again, how many people in excess of the 4,600 have been billed. And what accounts have been analyzed to determine what could be added to those 4,600. So I don't know if the answer to be part of the question.
Madam Chair, excuse me, isn't this a position that's going to create some revenue for the county? Is it not?
Correct.
Yeah. So why are we arguing? It's a position that we need.
We had a position created in the IT office that was supposed to do the same thing. That position was budgeted at almost $40,000. Now we're adding 2 other positions that are going to equal $52,000. So between $40,000 and $52,000, we're looking at $92,000 increase in 3 term positions. But we have not seen the increase in revenue based on Melinda's not comfortable saying that, yes, there has been an increase in revenue. We don't have a plan. I don't have a problem with providing additional staff or whatever, but right now we don't have a plan. It's just,
That's not correct, sir.
it's not correct.
I don't mean to disrespect or interrupt you, but go ahead, sir. But I gave you a handout, and we did hire a consultant, and we do have a plan in place. And yes, it is. This is a recommendation from the consultant to hire these 2 additional individuals so that they can do what they need to do to increase revenue for the county.
So, and I get that hiring a consultant was necessary for us to at least find our bearings, know where we're going, what we need to do. But hiring 2 billing consultants to me kind of seems like that's putting the cart before the horse at this point in time. I would like to hear the whole presentation on the plan. I want to know what these people are hired to do. Yes, they will create their own revenue if the plan is an effective one. These 2 new positions will absolutely create that revenue. They'll pay for themselves. I believe so. But before we just, Harold and I, Commissioner Garcia and I have been involved in this thing since we were elected to office. And it's been troublesome. It was, we've hired, we've lost some good people. We've had a lot of interaction, with employees and, sharing these people with the assessor's office and all of that. I know it's necessary, but I would like to hear, like, the plan. Before we say, okay, let's hire these 2 people now, I'd like to hear the plan. I want to see how this thing is going to pan out, and then I'm all for hiring people to produce what the plan entails. But I'd like to hear the plan before we just make hires.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we plan to have our consultant present to the commission next month. And if it's the wish of the commission to table these 2 items until you hear from him, that's fine, we can do that. It's going to put us behind schedule, but if that's the wish of the commission to table these 2 items and wait till Joe presents at the next commission meeting, because if you look at the handout, he has it, and actually he put this one together, and he has a breakdown of, there's 4 specific tasks. So the first task is the ordinance development, and he has that, it has a breakdown of A1, A2, A3, 4, 5, and 6, and it has the specific steps, the start dates, the deadline dates, and so forth. Now, we've had several meetings with our consultant, and so this is all based on his recommendation. And then if you look at B1 through B6, this is the billing system operations setup. So these are the specific steps that we have met with him, that this is his recommendation. And the reason for approval of the job descriptions is because if the commission approves the job descriptions today, then it's going to take us about a month to hire these individuals. And so that was the reason for that. If you turn the second page, he has the billing accounting setup and then the billing implementation. So there's 4 specific steps that he has is guiding us in. So again, the recommendation would be to, and the job descriptions, he actually put those together for us. So the recommendation was to submit the job descriptions to the commission for their approval so that we can meet the deadlines of which would be January.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner.
Yes, I kind of think it's putting the cart before the horse. I'm not opposed to these positions, but I do have a question, and maybe that'll be explained next month, but I understood or heard that maybe we're going to revamp the whole solid waste system, maybe go to a ticket system rather than the monthly billing, attaching it to the property assessments as they are now. I know we had a lot of problems, and I personally get calls from people all the time about somebody got 5 bills and they owed 0, and the bill is totaled $2,800. So I know there's a lot of work to straighten it out, and we need people to do that. But so do we know now we're going to change the system entirely, or is that not going to happen?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, no, we were looking at a punch card system, but that would not benefit our county. After looking at and doing the research, we believe that that would not be in our best interest.
Well, I think that it would be good to hear what the plan is, because I haven't heard it until now that we're having a discussion. I still thought that we were looking at that, a card or ticket system, so to change the whole system entirely. So I would like to know what that's going to look like before we fill the positions. And I agree we need those people to do the work, but it would be nice to know what we're looking at as a package, because I was still expecting we were going to go towards a ticketing system.
Madam Chair, if I'm in order, I'd like to make a motion that we table items being presented this time to further notice.
Motion to table by Commissioner Garcia. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
For the record, I'm opposed.
For the record,
Yeah.
Commissioner Nahar has opposed, and I myself, Maria Martinez, have opposed as well. I have another question in reference to that. Who's going to be supervising these positions?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, these 2 positions would fall under the Public Works Director. Again, under the consultant our consultant. And what we'll do is next month we'll have Joe present to us, and we'll have these 2 job descriptions on the agenda again next month.
And I wanted to reflect too that, I mean, we have a consultant that was hired to give us guidance on how to move forward with this, and we're not doing that. So guess we'll have to wait to hear from the consultant.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, can we do there's a recommendation by Commissioner Garcia. Can we do
Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Madam Chair Maria Martinez,
No.
Vice Chair Chris Nahat,
No.
Commissioner Max Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Harold Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Janice Varela.
Yes.
Motion carries to table item number 3 and 4, I guess, right? Because we can't move on to item 4.
Motion to table, Madam Chair.
Motion to table item 4.
Second.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Would you like a roll call?
Roll call vote on item 4, please.
Madam Chair Maria Martinez,
No.
Vice Chair Chris Nahat,
No.
Commissioner Harold Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Max Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Janice Varela.
Yes.
We move on to item number 5, Resolution 09-08-20, September Preparedness Month. Leo Maestas, the Emergency Manager.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Right now, I'd like to bring in front of you the resolution for September being Preparedness Month across the nation. In lieu of, obviously, the pandemic that we're going through, wildfires that California is experiencing, hurricanes that the East Coast is experiencing as well. I would like to play a quick little video clip. It's from ready.gov, which is a branch off of the FEMA website. It's just a quick PSA for Preparedness Month of September, and then I will read the resolution. Mr. Diego? I'll read the resolution and then we can play the clip right after, if we can. So Resolution 0908-20, September Preparedness Month. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of San Miguel County to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency from natural disasters to potential pandemics or terrorist attacks. And whereas during this national campaign, San Miguel County encourages citizens to help ensure the safety and well-being of their families, neighbors, and communities. And whereas San Miguel County employees are instructed to review safety protocols, evacuation routes, and procedures and for ensuring the safety of San Miguel County. And whereas San Miguel County is concerned about personal safety and well-being during an emergency, and there are actions everyone can take to prepare for an emergency or disaster. And whereas household preparedness plans, including meeting points, extra emergency supplies, and emergency contact lists, will help ensure you and your family are prepared for any emergency or disaster. And whereas receiving proper training for emergency situations, including first aid, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and use of automatic external defibrillators and disaster emergency training will provide the ability to safely and effectively respond to an emergency. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of San Miguel County, and urges to make preparedness a priority by taking your 4 simple steps. Number 1, organize an emergency supply kit. Number 2, create a family emergency plan. Number 3, be informed about the types of emergencies that can occur in New Mexico. And number 4, get involved with the local preparedness organization and efforts. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County do hereby proclaim the month of September 2020 as September Preparedness Month. Moved second, and adopted this 8th of September 2020 by the Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahar, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
If we can play that quick clip, and then I'll move on out of your way. We seem to have some problems with the sound, but it basically just goes over to exercise those ideas of going over plans with your family to be prepared for different types of disasters, especially in lieu of the pandemic that we've been experiencing for the last 8 months.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Maestas, can you please share that video with the commission at some point?
I sure will. I'll send the link to your emails.
Thank you.
We move on to item number 6, San Miguel County Detention Center Medical and Behavioral Health Services Agreement. Presenter, Matt A. Elwell, Warden.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, before you today is our first amendment to our 4-year contract for medical and behavioral health services at the detention center. Within that agreement is a 3% CIP increase for services, and then an additional 2 hours increase in RN services, really relating to being able to do our own labs on site, doing COVID testing, must be an RN or higher to do those levels of services. So we request to review and approve.
Do I have a motion to approve item 6?
So move, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Nahar. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
I
carries.
have a question, Madam Chair. We're looking at a contract that's almost $700,000 over a 12-month period. Does that cover a full capacity of 150 inmates full-time, or does it cover, how does it deviate? If you have, how many inmates do you have now?
Right now, we have today's counts 83 inmates.
83, so you're at half, almost half.
So it'll cover up to our capacity of 154.
So they don't fluctuate on cost?
No, because you still have to have the staff on site, whether you have the 84 or 154.
All right, that answers the question. Thank you.
So we move on to item number 7, out-of-state travel,
Thank you.
instructor armor pepper ball certification.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, before you today is a approval for out-of-state travel. This specific class is for Lieutenant Garcia and Lieutenant Ortiz to receive their recertification for use of non-lethal munions. This class was canceled twice due to COVID-19, and now is open at a close location where they can drive and remain, where they don't have to fly or do any of those things now during COVID. So it's just outside of Denver. We'd appreciate your approval on this.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Nahar. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to item number 8, census update. Diego Trujillo, our IT supervisor.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dr. Martinez, thank you for the opportunity to report on the 2020 census. I'd like to draw down from the state down to the county and to our incorporated areas. As of today, the state of New Mexico is reporting a 56.4 self-response rate. That ranks us 49 of 52. That includes the 51 states and and Puerto Rico. San Miguel County, as of today, is reporting at 36.8% in the self-response phase. That's based on a population of 27.3 or 27,300. As you know, our population has reduced by anywhere between 15 and 17% from the last 2020 census, so our numbers are a little higher than are being reported right now. So as we drill down into the county, the data that's provided to me allows me to draw down into tracts and find percentages by those tracts. So in eastern San Miguel County, including Conchas and Los Montoyas, that tract is currently responding at 21.5%. The Sapeo Rociada area is responding at 23.4%. The Gainas area is responding at 20.1%. Villanueva, Gonzales Ranch, and Bernal is reporting at 25.3% currently. And the San Jeronimo, Ilfeld, west of I-25, is reporting at 27.7% currently. Now, as we drill down into our incorporated areas, Las Vegas is reporting as of today 54.0%, with the northwest quadrant leading the way at 53.1%, the northeast quadrant at 52.1%, the southern quadrant at 49.1%, and the Midtown area, including North Railroad and North Commerce, is reporting at 50.1%. Pecos is reporting currently at 31.0%. So I don't know if anybody's heard in the news lately, the Trump administration had pulled back the extension through October 31st for the self-response phase back to September 30th. A judge in Northern California ruled this weekend that that request by the administration was to be suspended until a future ruling on September 17th. So there's a good possibility that we will be extending the self-response phase into October once again. If I may, I'd like to give you an example of some other counties in our state. Right now, Los Alamos is our highest responding county at 82.9%. They fall in the top 5 in the country in reporting for counties. Los Alamos has the #1 ranked school district in the state, and they receive about as much as you can get for funding for their school district. Followed behind Los Alamos at 2 and 3 are Sandoval County and Bernalillo County. That includes Rio Rancho and Albuquerque. As you know, that's where the majority of our hospitals. They have school districts that can provide better resources because of the additional funding. Anybody who's driven in those neighborhoods would notice well-groomed parks in almost every neighborhood. And they produce the data that the public sector evaluates to determine economic investment. Those are the type of numbers we need to produce moving forward. Right now, we have a lot of work to do. We could be, like I said, if the ruling does not go our way, could be 23 days away from the self-response phase coming to an end. That doesn't necessarily mean that those individuals won't be counted. But after that phase has concluded, enumeration begins door to door, and that is the least effective means of counting a population. So when door-to-door enumerating begins, there is no incentives like the ones our Complete Count Committee is offering currently. And we hope that between now and the end of this phase, whether it be September or October, that our residents take the 3 to 5 minutes to file, since the funding is so critical to our county. I stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Trujillo, what is the percentage of Sandoval and Bernalillo counties?
Right now, Sandoval County is at 67%, Bernalillo County at 69%, and Los Alamos is leading the pack at 82.9%. And those counties don't have the amount of rural residents that we do. That historically has been a troublesome population to enumerate. Almost 50% of our county meets that criteria, and the leave response, which is the process they use to leave packets at those residences, because 99% of them receive their mail at a P.O. box. and it requires that they be left at a, we'll call it a door on a porch. So that started late. There was some confusion on how those should be filled out. So that's pretty much why our numbers continue to be as low as they are. But there is no reason why we can't compete with those up at the top. We currently sit at 22 out of, 38 counties, 36? So we've made considerable progress. We were in the bottom 4. So right now we're inching up towards the, we're in the second third of total amount of counties in response rates, and I'm confident that will exceed our percentages from the previous census.
Madam Chair, do you have any idea how those percentages compare to the 2010 count?
Yes, sir. They provide those, and I forfeited my computer. I wanted to show you guys those. I get a daily report outside of Saturday and Sunday on the progress within each tract in our county, and with my background, I utilize those. Those are something I'm familiar with and how to use that data. So I look at it daily to target areas that may not be making the progress that other tracts are making with the staff I have available. So it's very useful to us. The feds have done a great job of providing us data that has been very useful to our team and our events over the course of this campaign.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trujillo. And we all know how important it is for the revenue for our county and services. So, and we all know the reasons that some of us feel left out, because 100% of my constituents, including myself, have a rural box. We don't have physical addresses. And this continues to be a problem. That some people that I know that live on the main street haven't had somebody drop off a packet. I know people that live off the beaten path with locked gates and they live in chicken coops. I'm serious. You know, those people are way out there, so I don't know that no one's ever going to get a packet to them. So we really have to figure out, and I'm willing to work with you and come up with ideas and see how we could reach people that are not responding. Also, it's been in the news, the Navajo Nation and other tribes have joined in a lawsuit against the federal government. Is this the case you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. And you're absolutely right. And there's a variety of reasons why people choose not to participate, and we've almost heard them all.
I don't think that they're choosing not to. I don't think they're given the opportunity. And I think that's a big problem that we're seeing, not just here, but in rural America. And we're not, look at LaSalle. I'm not shocked at all that LaSalle almost is 80-some%, you know, and look at how they're funded, look at their schools, and look at what they have compared to what we have. And it's no mystery.
I got a call from Miss Mary Lou Grego this morning in regard to her filing. They had an enumerator show up and tell them that they hadn't submitted, and she had submitted months ago a pamphlet submission, and when I recommended to her that she call the feds. I asked her to share her findings with me, so she called me back within 10 minutes, and there seems to be issues with how the feds share information with who has filed and who hasn't, with their boots on the ground. So you're absolutely right. There's just a variety of things that have caused issues for residents all over the country to find the most effective means of filing and getting what their communities deserve and have earned. So yes, we will continue to work till the last day of this campaign. I see it as extremely important. I hope that I am persistent, and I see this as probably the biggest project I've worked in, affecting the most people in my 22.5 years in public service. So I'm taking this extremely serious. Here in town, we're trying to have at least one event a day. It's a struggle to get people out there, even with the increase in our incentives. But 0.1% increase from one day to the next is still a 0.1% increase. So every person counts, and whether it's one person or 100 that we get to file at our events, each person, like I said in the past, is worth $47,300 to us. We had an opportunity to go to the soup kitchen last week, and it was the first of the month, so their numbers were real low. And Geraldine Padilla, the coordinator for that soup kitchen, came out to apologize to us for the low turnout. And she said this was a bad day. And I said, no, it wasn't. We filed 5 people. We made $250,000 for our community today. So even if it's just one, it's worth our time being out there, sitting at the park after hours, sitting at food lines, engaging our residents has been a pleasure and an honor. And I thank you guys, Dr. Martinez, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. And Diego, if you could let me know how I can help you, and I'll be willing to take the lead or support you in getting the group in Pecos together again. I think our last meeting was July on the phone, so we can meet again and to pick up this ball before it's too late, because even one person, it makes a difference. And then, you know, I already told you my story. I got to complete mine twice, because I did it on National Census Day in April. Didn't have the number, the code of the packet, so I was able to bypass that and go take the next step, and I was done in 10 minutes, only to find out later that maybe that didn't take and I'd have to redo it again. I got the packet, so I completed again, so it looks like that took it. So my concern is, I think a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm done, I did mine way back then, that they're in the same position, believing, like I did, that they were done back in April. And then there was an email from Ben Ray Lujan's office and one from Senator Stefanik's, and it was very confusing. And I said, what does this mean? I had to call someone. And they said, well, you might have to do it again. So there again, I know it's not your fault, and nobody's, I don't know whose fault it is, but these things, so is there somebody that we could have them call a number to verify?
Yes, that can be found on the 2020 Census website. That web address is www.2020census.gov. There they can find the phone number to call and file on over the phone, or they can file online. So again, I'd like to share that web address with those listening to this meeting. It is www.2020census.gov. I recommend that you take a snapshot of your confirmation number. That would be the last screen after you hit submit. In the event a enumerator shows up, you can show that, produce that number, and they'll pull you off the visit list. So once again, I'd just like to encourage all those residents that haven't filed to please do soon.
Thank you. Now, you answered this question for me, but I'd like for everybody to hear it. Given the website or the phone, which would be better? And you said the phone. And I mean, for a lot of our people too, they don't even have computers or even internet. So I would, if you can hand up, tell us the phone number, please.
I don't have that right off the top of my head. I apologize, Commissioner.
It's an 844.
Yeah, I did, and I just gave it out. I'm sorry, I don't recall it.
Okay, thank you, Diego.
I would like to tell you thank you, Diego, as well, for not, you and your IT department for putting our Head Start flyer on the website for the county, and for also putting that on your booths when you guys go out and do the census. And if there's any way that I can help as a community member, a commissioner, please let me know. I'm willing to do whatever I can.
Any way we can help. Please just encourage your families to participate, your friends. As Commissioner Varela mentioned, I'm in constant contact with Congressman Ben Ray Lujan's office as well, and he's very concerned at our numbers right now. And like I said, I'm going to continue to be persistent and work as hard as I can to get people out to file. Like I said, we've increased our incentives and we've seen a little uptick in those participating at our events. But if you could just pass the word to anybody you cross paths with, that would be greatly appreciated.
One more thing, Mr. Trujillo, and that's the churches, now that they're allowing more people to congregate in church now. Have we been working, or have you been working with the local churches, especially the Catholic churches? I know in my town we have the Catholic Church, but we also have the Divina Luz or some other churches, and the Cowboy Church.
Dr. Mercy Alred, who is the regional coordinator for the feds, is working with that, with local clergies and targeting that sector for us. We found it difficult to get residents to stop what they're doing to file. We've had the most success where people are having to wait, such as our food lines will engage them an hour, hour and a half prior to that line even moving. Because they're not doing anything, they're just sitting there anyway. So yeah, it's difficult, but yes, the feds are addressing that sector for us.
And I don't want to be funny or, but where they're selling the chili, have you seen the lines there?
Okay, so
That might be a place to
here's,
target.
and I tried to, but I needed special permission, but what I did this weekend was, I got in touch with Swirl Ice Cream. I don't know if you guys have seen that
Yes.
orange trailer. They're doing the
Yes.
rolled ice cream. I'm running a requisition for them. We're gonna haul that thing out to Pecos and the Valley and hopefully lure in what we like to call our high-value targets, those with children under the age of 12. So for sure, those places where they're waiting, I don't know, I might go into the ice cream business. That individual's
But I know what.
I'm pretty busy. And thank you, Leo. Leo has just brought me the number for the census. It's pretty easy to memorize, so I feel kind of embarrassed that I didn't. 844-330-2020 is that number.
I got 7 of the numbers right.
All righty, any more questions on that? Comments? Nothing? So we move on to item number 9, rule addressing, information only. Diego?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Dr. Martinez. It has been brought to light that in certain areas of the county where addressing has changed recently and in some cases frequently, residents are not posting their current E911 address. As you are aware, this can become an issue when emergency services are required. Currently, our ordinance number SMC 071399 ORD2 does not contain a requirement that a resident must post their current E911 address. The ordinance only outlines the requirement, method, and purpose for the E911 address. One area that has been a concern is East Pecos, outside the village limits. After researching this area, I found that when these parcels were initially addressed, the addresser did not leave room between addresses to accommodate for future lot splits or subdivides. Because the size of the parcels on a particular road would allow for future residential or commercial additions, adequate spacing and numbering should have been a priority. An example, and if you guys could please follow me on this, try to compress this as much as possible. So picture a road with 10 houses on one side of the road. Each one of these parcels is big enough to accommodate a lot split or a subdivide. And they're all addressed in sequence, starting at 1100, the next one 1102, the next one 1104, 1106, and so on. Let's say resident number 5 chooses to give 2 of his children enough property to erect a structure requiring an address. The unintended consequence of not recognizing the need for adequate space between numbering is that everybody behind that new structure would now require a new address. And that has happened multiple times in certain areas. So that was an oversight that happened decades ago. So as I mentioned, the unintended result is the issued E911 addresses, the new ones, caused the structures moving on down the road to have an address change due to the lack of adequate numeric spacing. On roads where this has occurred, many dwellings have not posted or have any accurate E911 address posted on their Gaylor residence. In the event a new address results in subsequent address changes, such as the one I mentioned, rural addressing sends a letter notifying those affected of their address change. In the event a letter is returned, rural addressing will deliver that letter personally. I am in the process of developing a postcard-sized mailer for these areas along with each resident's current E911 address. The mailer will inform the residents of the importance of posting their current E911 address and its multiple uses and purpose. Unfortunately, this is not uncommon in rural addressing, since some addresses have been in place for decades, many prior to addressing requirements and the availability of emergency services in some areas. The majority of rural residents receive their mail at a P.O. box and may not see a need or choose for personal reasons to not post their E911 address. I'd just like to make a suggestion, if I may, that we consider creating a rural addressing committee to throw around ideas and solutions and quite possibly seek funding. We've looked at the cost for providing sticker numbers, pole inexpensive synthetic posts that we can put in front of residents. Contracting somebody to do that, and the expense is in the tens of thousands and quite possibly in the 6 digits. So I think the more minds on this, the better off we are. But in those areas where the spacing was not taken into consideration in original addressing, it has become an issue, and we don't want it to become a life or death issue and create any liability for ourselves or, like I said, the heartache of having a loss due to inadequate services or them not being able to find residents. At this time, I stand for any questions you may have.
Commissioner Varela?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. I talked to Mr. Trujillo about this issue, getting calls from people aren't able, having packages delivered is the least of their problems. It's regarding emergency medical service, calling an ambulance, telling them, go to East Pecos, B51, but don't stop at the first number 12, go to the second number, or the first 70, go to the second one, because there's 2 houses, it's a mess. It's really life and death, so we really need to address this. I'd like to serve on that committee, and you can work on that, and let's see what we could do. I know it could take a lot of time, but even if we can purchase the numbers and figure out how we can get them out to people, and let them get the pole or a rock or put them wherever, because I think it's really important that we take care of this. And I do have a question for you. And I referred someone to your department, I don't think they got an answer. If an individual has a private road within the county, and they want to put a sign on there, do they need to get approval from the department to post their sign up?
Yes, ma'am. Anybody requiring a name, wanting to name their road has to go through the process.
And they have to get in the rural address to get in the system?
Yes, ma'am. The only time we'll initiate that is if there's 3 or more dwellings. By law, we're required to name it, but an individual has the right to name their road so long as it meets the conventions that are set forth.
Yeah, this individual contacted you, haven't gone back to the zone?
No, I did.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
it came through. Gerald and I spoke about Valencia.
Villas, Dr. Villas.
Yeah, Villas, there you go. Yeah, we spoke with him. And on that note, I spoke with EMS as they were walking out. I think we can provide a electronic file on the cloud, which is a daily upload from our GIS system that they can have access to so that we're all on the same page. They won't require a internet connection. When they do have an internet connection, they would just easily download that and it'd be on the local laptop. So long as they have power to their laptop, they'll be able to find a new address in the event that we've had to address a road.
That's the most important thing right there. Thank you for that.
I've also found that it's not uncommon for a county or municipality to adopt a law requiring that. I do know that we probably have a issue with enforcement, have a lot of area to cover. We need to respect the privacy of our residents. A lot of times that we show up, and I think Felix can speak to this, people run in their house and lock the door and they don't want to answer. So there's those variables that come into play, whether you're there to bring a gift, a business card, or a birthday card, or a code enforcement violation, you're still from the county and they prefer not to meet with you. Typically, they think we have bad news, but we'll do everything we can. I want to share with you guys via email. I'll send you the flyer that I found from a county in North Carolina that has made it law, and the type of information that they send out to their residents explaining the importance, its purpose, its use. And that's something for Mr. Romero to hammer out, and quite possibly the sheriff should probably be involved with that since they're our first responder. But that's something we can improve on. This ordinance had not been updated based on the convention. This ordinance was adopted on 7/13 of 1999. So it's 21 years old. And I look forward to making the necessary changes to increase our accuracy.
Any other questions? Thank you, Diego.
Thank you, folks.
We move on to item 10, San Miguel County Public Works Department recommendation of rejection 2020 San Miguel County Road Improvements Tecolote Bridge FEMA project.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Dr. Martinez, in your packet, you have a bid tabulation for this project that San Miguel County solicited a competitive sealed bids from a qualified vendor for the Tecolote Bridge. We received one bid, and it was evaluated. The bidding contractor was over budget of the engineer's cost estimate, so I'm recommending a rejection of the 2020 San Miguel County Road Improvement for the Tecolote Bridge, which is the FEMA project. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So let's assume that we act on your recommendation. What's the next step to get this project done?
So I was talking to Miller Engineering. He has recommended a couple things. Number one is that we can reduce the scope of work. We were budgeted on your tabulation bid sheet there. We were budgeted over $375,000 from the contractor. We can reduce the scope and then go out to rebid probably in November or December. And that at that point, probably the contractors, I mean, I was there where we had 7 or 8 contractors at the pre-conference and showed a lot of interest, but when it came down to it, we only had 1 contractor bid, but they're pretty busy right now. So he's thinking that come November, December would be more appropriate. We'll get a more reasonable price bids from more, for some more contractors. So that's what we're kind of looking at.
So what is the plan to get this project into the budget?
Well, reduce the scope of work. I did talk to Leo Maestas, and he is in communication with FEMA to see if we can maybe try to do a budget increase for the project. The project is for a full reconstruction of the bridge. So that's something we can look at to reduce the scope, or we could try to increase budget based on if we ask for an additional funding for request.
And how would you reduce the scope of work for this project?
Well, that's what we would have to go back to the drawing board, redo the plans, and look at what structural damage there is to the bridge. More so, there's a lot of metal deterioration, and just seeing what can actually give as part of the reconstruction. But there are, I'm sure, and I'm not an engineer, but I'm sure there are some non-negotiables about structure in the bridge that has to actually be done.
You know, this project is in my area, and I'm totally against not moving it forward. You know, and I want answers. I mean, I think that, you know, this money has been appropriated for this, and I don't think we need to.
So the money has been appropriated for it, but the bids came almost $400,000 over costs, and right now I just don't know where we would find that money to make the project happen as is, unless we have a reduction of scope of work or increase a budget for this. We can really start working on that. We would have by next May, April, May, we need to put in for a request for a renewal of the project or extension of the project, extension of the project, so we can get that from FEMA. So that's something we can work on to see what to expedite the project. But that's where we're at. We only had 1 bidder, and that's where it came over cost. I don't know if Arnold Lopez has any additional information or comments to it.
This company that was awarded, that bid for the project, El Terrero Construction, they're the ones that did the work on South Grand, is that correct?
El Terrero Construction was,
Mr. Lopez, yes.
I'm not sure if they were
Yeah,
on South
they
Grand.
did a real good job on South Grand. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I'm just saying that, you know, that they're a pretty good company according to what I see on South Grand.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I could elaborate a little bit more on that. In the wording of reduce the scope of work, if FEMA selects not to increase the budget, you know, what we can do, and I was there, you know, multiple times and with the engineers, and looking at the bridge, it did sustain damage, you know, from previous floodings and stuff like that, and there is structural damage done to the upper deck. The abutments themselves look like they're in pretty good condition. So one way that I would see that could, reduce the scope of work would be to not replace the abutments, and the abutments add a lot of cost to the significant project. But that's just one way that I see, just right off from what I've seen, is if we retain the original abutments and then just do a restructure of the upper deck, and then of course the riprap and all the other stuff that was included in the bid process. But Terrero was the one that did the Grand Avenue project, and they had some surface issues at first, but the overall project came out pretty good, actually.
So, my question is why couldn't we change the scope of work with the company that got the bid? Why do we have to go back and rebid the project? Or could that be possible?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, in order to do that, the bid would have to come within 10% of the budget.
Correct.
So since it exceeded the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Madam Chair,
yeah.
Mr. Garcia, from my dealing with FEMA, my past job, they only get you to where you were before. So if the bridge was not, let's say, was just not really, it was okay but not adequate, needs to be improved, is that part of the problem? Is that FEMA will only grant the money to get it to a certain condition and it needs to be improved beyond that? Is that the issue?
So that is correct. So they, in the stipulation that they have, it is as was it as before. So it's not above and beyond any scope of that. So yes.
So, I mean, was it not adequate before? Is this the issue that we're trying to get the bridge to be?
Just back to what it was before.
Back to what it was? Is that within the FEMA budget? Is that where the El Herrero didn't bid within that number that we needed?
So we don't disclose the engineer's costs to anybody because that would give away, there would be bidding wars. Yeah, so one of the things that was kind of encouraging that I talked to Vernon Miller this morning was that all bridges statewide through DOT, they're experiencing the same thing with all contractors doing bridges. They're just kind of putting out high numbers right now. Right now they're pretty busy, all contractors, and I think what's a reasonable time frame is coming back in November, December, where there's less work going on for contractors, and then submitting a reasonable bid proposal for construction. So yeah, I mean FEMA is to get it back as it was before. So.
Commissioner Garcia.
So with the change of the scope of work for this project, that means the engineer's going to have to redo his drawings. Is there going to be additional cost for the county for that? Where are those costs going to come from?
So I think that's already built in that he would, because he went out to bid and there were no qualified contractors at that cost. I think he would be doing it to get the project happening. I'm not 100% sure, but I would have to just verify that with him and Miller Engineering to make sure there were no additional costs.
Okay. So it wouldn't be actually redesigning the actual bridge. It would be probably more than likely eliminating an item or two. Like let's just say if we eliminated the abutment part of it, it's still in the same design, okay? But it would just be eliminating an item that possibly doesn't have to get replaced and restructured. So the actual engineer's design would remain the same except for the elimination of certain items.
So if we wait longer on this bridge, is there any, do we pose a chance of somebody getting hurt or something going bad there in that area just because we're not addressing the issue in a timely fashion?
Well, we do need to address, so we need to address the bridge, but it does have structural damage and needs to at some point get fixed. Do I know if a car, there are Jersey barriers on the side. If you've been on that bridge, there are Jersey barriers. So there have been things put in place to try to make that bridge as safe as possible, but not going under the bridge and really seeing it, but Verlin Miller has done all that work for us, and he has addressed it, but we do need to address the bridge at some point, but we still need to follow within budget to get it fixed. So there are some things that have been put in place to make it safer, but we still need to address it.
And what's your recommendation? You're recommending that we...
For right now, because we didn't come into budget, my recommendation is to reject it. Let's have more discussion about it, see if we can either eliminate some of the items that Arnold Lopez talked about, and or to see if FEMA will help increase budget and try to move this project forward.
And Mr. Lopez, do you have anything to add to that?
Madam Chair, your concern about safety on this bridge. So the way it was addressed, and this particular bridge has 3 sections to it. It has, let's just call it a right section, middle section, and a left section. The impact to it was, let's just say if you're heading north, it's on the left-hand side. That's the area that actually was barricaded utilizing Jersey barriers. So the actual traffic and weight of traffic is on the area that hasn't been impacted. So I would say that there is no safety concern like immediately, but of course it is compromised, and addressing it the sooner the better. Of course, this project is way overdue, and it would be nice if we could have gotten a bid within budget and we could have moved forward. But unfortunately, at this point, we have to go a different route.
So do we have a time frame as to when we will plan on doing this, or to move this project forward, or?
So to put a whole nother proposal together, we're already in the month of September. We're looking to re-advertise, look at what items can be eliminated. So we're looking at November, December to put for it to be out there for another bid proposal to happen. So we're about 2 or 3 months out.
I'm making contact with FEMA and Homeland Security, and they'll give us what the option is. I can't imagine if this is the first time the project is coming over bid, and I'll have an answer by tomorrow or the following day as to what the next steps can be, if we can ultimately have to go that route. We want to take a risk.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that I am against it. Okay, we move to item number 11, Public Works Division report for the month of August 2020. Presenter Arnold Lopez.
Madam Chair, members of Commission, again, you have the list in front of us of many roads that got addressed throughout the month. We did some big improvements in the Conchas area during this month. A lot of the residents there got together and they purchased culverts for their driveways, and we improved drainage within an area of boat dock on the southern part. That was a pretty good project that we accomplished, widened the road, created new drainage, and then again with resident help for their driveways, they provided us with the culverts, which we installed and placed. So we addressed all those concerns within that boat dock portion. Currently, Johnny Trujillo is in the San Ignacio area pulling maintenance. Peter is working his way to Leyva. And then Juan Macias, we've been short-staffed and he's been having to fill in the solid waste operations. So we hired a new person. He started today. So hopefully we could get Juan Macias back on the grader and providing additional maintenance. But all stands for questions or requests. Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to finish Cow Creek? I know you had Peter up there, but then you had to take him and move him somewhere else. Were you able to get the materials and finish that, or are you still working on it?
We're still working on it. He is over in the Leyva area right now. We've hauled some material out to him.
Cow Creek done before winter? And the road to Colonia?
Depends on how you say done. Done, like completely done, no. But it'll be ongoing, yeah. That's a long haul and it's a slow process. And if we dedicate it to just that, we'd be there like, months long. Right. But we have addressed the biggest concern areas, the worst of the areas, and we will continue to apply and.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
I just want to tell you thank you for addressing the issues in Conchas, and then I know you and I had spoke about the issues in Ancon. Have you had a chance to talk to anybody out there? I know we're supposed to take a ride out there, but.
Yes, no, but that was our plan for this week, so if we can get out there and then we could schedule those concerns.
Right.
I think that was just due more to they had a big rainfall, and with those big rainfalls, you'd need a huge drainage culvert or whatever to handle that amount of water, but we'll definitely look at it and see if there's something we could do about it.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner?
Arnold, I'd like to personally thank you and Gerald both for assisting last week with the presentation for the CDBG application for Country Acres. Fortunate for us, we were, I think, second on the agenda, so we didn't have to wait. But I want to thank you too for being there in case any questions were asked. And then secondly, I had a request to get some work done up at Campuna, and you went and you got the crew started on it, and I've received a lot of people thanking us for that work. And I want to just express my gratitude to you and the staff for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to serve the constituents. And the CDBG application hearing went really well. For the record, I got a really good impression from input that was made by some of the members of their commission. And personally, I think it looks good for us.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
You're welcome.
We move on to item number 12, second reading of San Miguel County Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Ordinance Extension. The full title, which shall be Ordinance number SMC-09-10-2019 Hard Rock Mining Moratorium.
Madam Chairperson,
Romero.
Board of County Commissioners. This is a final discussion and vote on the extension of the hard rock mining moratorium. And it covers the time till January of next year, where we will have the moratorium continue to be in effect. And the reason for this is we expect that our ordinance concerning hard rock mining will be completed by that time. My understanding from P&Z is that they will have a near final draft within the next month and a half. But for now, I would like to ask that we move into public hearing with a motion and a second, so we can formally, on the record, discuss the proposed ordinance. So a motion to go into public hearing session.
Motion to move on with the public hearing, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Nahad to go into public hearing, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Let me start by saying all those who wish to participate in this hearing, stand, raise their right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name. Do intend to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in any discussion I have regarding this matter. So help me God. What you have in this particular ordinance is the same ordinance that we had prepared previously. This is the second reading and the final reading. It has been publicized in the Las Vegas Daily Optic for at least 3 times. And I'd like to read it just to put it on the record. Titled Ordinance number SMC-09-10-2019 Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Extension. San Miguel County Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Ordinance, the full title of which shall be Ordinance Number SMC-09-10-2019 Hard Rock Mining Moratorium. Section 1. From July 1st, 2020 until January 18th, 2021, from the effective date hereof, San Miguel County shall not consider for approval nor approve any application for conditional use or other permit, license, permission of whatever nature or kind for permits for exploratory mining operations, drilling, and extraction for metals, including but not limited to copper, zinc, rare earth elements, REE, otherwise known as REE, cobalt or gold exploration, drilling or extraction within San Miguel County. Section 2. Any prior ordinance, resolution, rule, authority heretofore enacted by San Miguel County contrary to the provisions of Section 1, herein above, inclusive of Ordinance Number 07-13-99, Ord. 3 Sand and Gravel Mining Ordinance, and any other relevant mining laws and amendments thereto are expressly superseded and set aside by this ordinance. Section 3. An exception to this moratorium is made to allow the open pit removal of dirt, sand, and gravel by San Miguel County businesses which have been in existence for at least 3 years from the date of this ordinance. Section 4, because of emergency circumstances, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon being recorded in the office of the San Miguel County Clerk. The purpose, and that is the ordinance that is proposed for your consideration. The purpose of this is just to give us more time as a county to prepare and to react with a final draft for your consideration of the hard rock mining ordinance, which is in close to final form. Our new P&Z director is going through it and taking final comments in both improving and redrafting. The other aspect of this is we realize that that there are many local people who are in the business of, say, sand and gravel or open pit or removal of dirt throughout the county, and it's a means of survival and financial support for those individuals to work their property. And it was made clear in this ordinance that what we're really looking at are those commercial mining applications which we know are coming and will be filed, and we want to at least allow the county to control that type of development in the Sangre de Cristos, especially looking anywhere from above the community of Pecos all the way to above Penderay and Sapeo, along the whole ridge of mountain there that is part of San Miguel County. I expect that the ordinance, the final ordinance that we're looking at will be similar to the Santa Fe ordinance, where they've had many professionals participating in developing an ordinance which protects the public interest and also protects the other interests which may be affected by the ordinance, including commercial, non-commercial, individual, quality of life, quality of water, But we're also tailoring our ordinance to the needs of San Miguel County because we're not Santa Fe County and we're not Rio Riva County. And that's why in the next couple of months you'll be seeing and hearing the community participate in what they think is a good ordinance and what should be considered in that ordinance. For now, though, I am asking that we go ahead and approve this moratorium so that we control any direct or indirect application to mine in San Miguel County. Let me make a request. Is there anybody here who wishes to address the issue in this hearing? Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, Counselor, I don't know if I need to speak now, or I can wait to speak from my position, or how do I do this?
Go ahead and address the issue now.
Yes, and I know we talked about this before, but I'm still troubled by section number 3, because we all decided, we were working on this mining ordinance and the moratorium, that we didn't need to mention sand and gravel because it's covered by another, or it's already in another rule, so we're not going to leave it alone. We already decided that. But you said you wanted to put it in here because you're a lawyer and you like words and you wanted to make it easy. But anyway, so the issue I have is that last part of section 3, where it says, I'll read it. The exception to this moratorium is made and is to allow the open pit removal of dirt and sand and gravel by San Miguel County businesses which have been in existence for at least 3 years from the date of this ordinance. So that tells me that if somebody wants to initiate a new business to extract sand and gravel, that they'd be well under these rules. It makes it a little more confusing. I would prefer to just leave it out since it already is in another statute, in another ordinance. So to me, where it says the 3 years, it says to me, if I read that, I'd say I would think that it means that this would pertain to either you have sand and gravel business, that if you were within 3 years or before, you're good. But if you're going to open up the sand and gravel business, then this would pertain to you.
And the answer, Commissioner, Madam Chair, is this. This ordinance is talking about a moratorium on the current sand and gravel ordinance, which covers all types of mining. And that would have stopped, say, the local business person from doing open pit mining. The purpose of that specific language is to make sure that the local person, who might have an open gravel pit or processing, can still work without this moratorium getting in his way. And that's why there is a bit of a conflict, because on one hand it says we're approving this, and then on the other hand we're saying we have an exception for local businesses. But in the frame of things, we should have this finalized within the next 3 to 4 months, or by January, and cover everybody who wants to work, and also cover those who are looking at true commercial drilling and mining on a massive scale up in the mountains.
Any other questions?
There being no other comments, or I would ask that we move out of hearing mode, and then we consider a motion to approve of the moratorium ordinance.
Do I have to get a motion to move out of?
A motion to move out of hearing.
Motion to move out of hearing. Motion by Commissioner Trujillo. Second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor? Aye.
And then I would ask that at this point in time that the commission approve the proposed moratorium extension.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahar, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We move on to item number 13.
Thank you.
We move on to item number 13, meal tax levy. Presenter Connie M. Gallegos.
Chair, Commissioners. So we received the tax rates from DFA last week. We went on to checking them, reviewed them. We went through them all with Melinda last week, the day after we received them. And there was a slight change. They went up very, very little. And so I'm here today to ask your approval of the tax rates for the 2020 tax year.
Madam Chair,
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garcia. Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We move on to item number 14, bank transfers for the month of July. Ms. Bertha Bustamante, County Treasurer. Or Ms. Melinda Gonzalez. I'm not sure who's presenting.
I could present that for her. I think she's going to be out actually, so I'm not sure if in your packet you received, there were 6 transfers that were made during the month of July or not, but there were 3 of them that were tied to payroll checks, another one just tied to EM&RD reimbursements for wildland fires, where money was deposited to the general bank account belongs to the fire. Correction fees that were also deposited to the general account belong to the detention center. And to move some cost we classified Andrew Durant and we're paying him out of the fire. And the final one is a transfer from our housing account to the Bernalillo County Housing Account. So those were the items that were transferred over as far as bank transfers for the month of July.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you, Melinda.
You're welcome.
We move on to item number 15, to enter into an agreement with Central. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is to renew our agreement with El Centro Family Health. They do provide care to indigent folks, and some of their funds are paid through federal funds. And for people who don't qualify for the federal funding, we cover a window of claims through them. So this is just to renew the agreement.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahat, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We move on to item number 16, Resolution 2020-09-08F1.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, there's a number of changes that were made in here. We did receive our fiscal year 2021 budget approval by DFA. However, in entering it in and getting it approved, there were some changes that needed to be made. During our final budget, we had talked about being able to set aside $140,000 because our 3/12 allowed for that just in case there were any miscellaneous costs. However, one of the numbers I was using to compute that is something called prepaids or other assets, and DFA doesn't look at that as far as allowing us to budget for that, so I had to reduce that miscellaneous expense of $140,000 in order for us to be able to meet our 3/12 reserve requirement. In addition, I'm asking for a transfer to take place from Fund 206, which was set aside for disaster projects, to the general fund, as discussed in last month's meeting, to pay for the person who's going to help with the opioid lawsuit. And so the amount that's being moved is $25,000 plus grocery taxes. Then we also have an increase to Fund 527, and that's a Cabo Lucero Volunteer Fire Department. They received a $3,005 award from the Department of Health Emergency Medical Services Bureau, and asking to budget that particular grant, as well as $272 that they had on hand at the end of last fiscal year. Then another change that DFA had me do was the county received LEPF funds from PECOS. We actually are working with LEPF funds from PECOS. And what we're doing is we're budgeting those funds and expending them and asking the Village of PECOS to reimburse us. The DFA would prefer that we actually have
ECHOs pay for the items, say equipment, and transfer over that equipment to our sheriff's office rather than us actually expending the monies and seeking reimbursement. So I had to adjust the budget based on that. Then the next budget adjustment is the CARES Act fund, and that's for $214,463. And I'm asking that to be budgeted in Fund 317. And as mentioned, roughly $30,000 to $60,000 is going to be in reimbursements, but everything is going to sit in that particular fund. Another change that was made was in Fund 753 with a combination of 101. 753 is a Justice Assistance Grant, and the Sheriff's Office purchased some armor vest, and later on when they sought reimbursement, they were told it was actually a 50-50 grant. So we have to move part of the cost out of that 753 to the general fund, so I had to make changes to the budget accordingly so we could spend the actual amount of monies that they have remaining to spend for the remainder of the fiscal year. And the final budget adjustment was an adjustment that we're going to make for the solid waste, those 2 solid waste positions. So the thought was that we had set aside $60,000 this fiscal year in order to get the computer system and or desks or computers, to hire the consultant, and then the rest for whatever might come about. And then as we were looking at the 2 new positions and everything, we thought we would probably need an additional $30,000 in order to complete that this fiscal year. So I know you guys tabled this item, so we could, if you choose to approve this with the striking of this last whereas, we could do that, and I could submit it to DFA with the striking of that item, or however you guys want me to handle it. But that's the budget adjustments that I'm submitting to you for the month of September.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, 2 stipulations. We have the ones that are being reimbursed for the COVID that are between 38 and 55,000, you said. I'd like for us to have a grasp of that, of those funds, that before they get spent, that we get at least notified through a commission meeting on what the plan for those funds will be. And then the stipulation on the solid waste, the additional $30,000 being a renewal debt. I don't think it's necessary to budget it at this point. So with that, I make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner
Second
Nahar.
motion.
Second by Commissioner. Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar, with stipulation stating that.
Stating that the COVID funds that we were approved for, discussed earlier, there's the amount that's reimbursable to us, that be brought before us before any decision is made on how those funds are to be spent. And then the $30,000 for the solid waste term positions, those be removed at this time, based on the action that we took earlier on table the term positions.
You got that?
Madam Chair, yes, I did. So if, with your permission, I'll submit the budget as it is with a cross out for the solid waste position, and at the next meeting, I will have worked with both Leo and Andrew to obtain what those figures are and report back to you next month.
Thank you. So motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor? Aye. We move on to item number 17, Resolution 2020-09-08 F2. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is a resolution to modify Fund 205, which used to be used a long time ago and it was entitled the District Attorney Remodeling Fund. And rather than just creating a bunch of different funds, I'm going to want to reuse this one and call it a Building Improvement Fund. And in here, what we're going to do is budget the legislative appropriations that we received from the state of New Mexico for the architectural barriers, to eliminate the architectural barriers. And then any other kind of special funding that we receive for buildings will be placed in here if we don't already have a building fund for a specific building. So I'm just asking for this, for the fund to be, for you allow me to change the naming of the fund.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Varela, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We move on to item number 18, Resolution 2020-09-08-F3. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, this is also to modify an existing fund that we have. We have Fund 317, which is entitled OEM-EMW 2011, which has not been used in many years, and use it for the third award funds that we received. Some of the covered costs that we did put in this resolution says that they are necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency that is expected from the virus. They were not accounted for in the budget that was recently approved as of March 27, 2020, and the costs were incurred during the period that began from March 1st, 2020 to the end of December 2020. So this fund will be reused also the beginning for us to account for the years.
Any questions? Do I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We move on to item number 19, is indigent claims. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, there's a listing of 5 indigent claims that were paid to a Central Family and Health.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Move on to item 20, receipt report for the month of June 2020 and July 2020. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is a standard report that I will provide on a monthly basis, although last month I intended to present June 2020 and July 2020. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to now make June 2020 and July 2020 for informational purposes only.
Any questions? Thank you, Melinda. We move on to item 21, journal entry report for the month of July 2020.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, these are the journal entries that were physically made during the month of July 2020, regardless of the period that it's affected. So you'll see some journal entries in here that are in July.
Any questions? Thank you, Melinda. We move on to item 22, cash balance report for the month of July 2020.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this list shows you all the different funds and all the different bank accounts within those funds and their balances as of July 31st, 2020. And it's for informational purposes.
Any questions? We move on to item number 23, budget report for the period of July 1st, 2020 through July 31st, 2020.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is the first month's budget report for the fiscal year 2020, ending July 31st, 2020. For informational purposes only.
Any questions? We move on to item number 24, accounts payable report for the month of July 2020. Ms. Melinda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this report are all the payments that we issued from our system, and as well as payments that were made by earlier accounts on the balance on the account.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.